The
Patience.
photograph slipped
This
from
is
Maya's
my
trembling
mother.
fingers and clattered onto the marble floor of the mansion's
Do
grand
you know
hallway.
my mother?
Her knees buckled as she stared at the image now lying face up at her feet. A young black woman in a beautiful white dress, standing in this very same hallway, smiling like she owned the world. The woman in the photo looked exactly like Maya's mother. No, not looked like. It was her mother. 20 years younger, but unmistakably her mama. The same warm brown eyes, the same dimpled smile, the same small birthmark near her left ear. But that was impossible. Mama had always told Maya they'd never had money, that they'd always struggled, that they'd always been on the outside looking in at places like this. So why was there a photograph of her mother hanging on the wall of the richest family in Connecticut? "Who are you? And what are you doing in my house?" a cold voice demanded from behind her. Maya spun around to find a tall white man in an expensive suit glaring at her with ice blue eyes that could freeze fire. His silver hair was perfectly styled, his jaw set in anger, and his hand was already reaching for his phone, probably to call security or the police. But Maya couldn't speak, couldn't move, could only point at the photograph with a shaking hand, her mind screaming questions she didn't have words for yet. The man's eyes followed her finger to the fallen frame, and something incredible happened. The anger on his face melted away like snow in summer. His skin went pale as paper. The phone dropped from his hand and cracked against the floor, but he didn't even notice. He was staring at Maya now with an expression she couldn't understand. Horror? Recognition? Hope? "Dear God," he whispered, his voice breaking. "You have her eyes." Before Maya could ask what he meant, before she could demand answers about why her mama's picture was in this mansion, before she could do anything at all, a woman's scream echoed from somewhere upstairs, high and terrified and full of pain. "No! You can't tell her! You promised me you would never tell her!" the voice shrieked. "If she finds out the truth, it will destroy everything! Everything!" The man's face hardened. He turned and ran toward the stairs, taking them three at a time. And Maya, driven by something she couldn't name, something pulling at her chest like a rope tied around her heart, followed him. Nothing in her 16 years of life could have prepared her for what she was about to discover. Nothing could have prepared her for the truth about who she really was, or for the terrible secret that had been buried for almost 2 decades. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. To understand how Maya ended up in that mansion, staring at that photograph, we need to go back. Back to 3 weeks earlier, when everything in Maya's small, simple world started to fall apart. Maya Johnson lived with her mother, Angela, in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat in the poor part of Bridgeport. The apartment was so small that when Maya stood in the kitchen, she could almost touch both walls with her arms stretched out. The walls were thin as paper, so they heard everything the neighbors did. The heater only worked half the time, so they wore extra sweaters in winter, and the hot water ran out after 5 minutes. So Maya had learned to take the fastest showers in human history, but it was home, and Mama made it warm with love, even when the heater wouldn't cooperate. Mama worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat. During the day, she cleaned offices downtown. In the evenings, she waited tables at a diner called Rosie's. And on weekends, she did people's laundry and ironing for extra cash. Maya rarely saw her awake. When Maya left for school in the morning, Mama was usually sleeping after her night shift. When Maya came home, Mama was already gone to her evening job. They left each other notes on the refrigerator, little messages of love on torn pieces of paper held up by magnets shaped like sunflowers. "Baby girl, there's leftover pasta in the fridge. Heat it up good. I love you bigger than the sky. Mama, Mama, I got an A on my history test. The teacher said my essay was the best in class. I love you to the moon and back." Maya. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. And Maya never complained because she knew Mama was doing her best. Mama always said they didn't need much as long as they had each other. But 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Maya came home from school to find Mama sitting at their wobbly kitchen table, crying. Not the quiet, gentle kind of crying. The deep, broken kind that shakes your whole body. The kind that scared Maya because Mama never cried. Not when they couldn't pay the electric bill. Not when the car broke down. Not even when Maya's teacher said they couldn't afford the class trip to Washington. Mama was the strongest person Maya knew. Seeing her cry was like watching a mountain crumble. Mama, what's wrong? Maya dropped her backpack and rushed to her mother's side. Mama looked up with red, swollen eyes. In her hand was a piece of paper, an official-looking paper with lots of words Maya couldn't read from where she stood. Baby girl, Mama said, her voice cracking like thin ice. We need to talk about something. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Maya's heart started pounding. Nothing good ever came after words like that. Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? No, baby, no. You're perfect. You've always been perfect. Mama pulled Maya into a tight hug, holding her like she might disappear. I got a letter today from a law office about your father. Maya went very still. Her father was a subject they never talked about. Ever. The few times Maya had asked when she was little, Mama had just said, "He's not in the picture, baby. It's just you and me. That's all we need." And Maya had learned to stop asking. What about him? Maya's voice came out small and scared. Mama pulled back and wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. He's dead, Maya. He died 2 weeks ago. Heart attack. And apparently he left you something in his will. Maya didn't know how to feel. How do you mourn someone you never knew? Someone who was just an empty space in your life, where a father should have been? Left me what? Money. A lot of money. The lawyer says you're entitled to part of his estate. Mama's hands were shaking as she held the letter. But Maya, there's more. Things I never told you. Things about who your father was. About why I left him before you were born. Who was he, Mama? Mama took a deep breath, like she was about to jump off a cliff. His name was Thomas Whitmore. And baby, he wasn't just anybody. He was rich. Really rich. His family owns half of Connecticut. Real estate, businesses, investments. They're one of the wealthiest families in the state. Maya's brain couldn't process what she was hearing. Her father was rich? They'd been struggling in this tiny apartment, eating pasta for dinner 5 nights a week, while her father lived in some mansion somewhere. Why didn't you tell me? Maya's voice came out harder than she intended. Why didn't you ask him for help? We could have had a better life. You wouldn't have had to work so hard. Because it's complicated, baby. So complicated. Mama stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the street below. I loved Thomas. Loved him with my whole heart. But his family, they didn't want us together. Didn't want him with a black girl from the poor side of town. They said terrible things. Threatened me. Told me I was only after his money. Maya felt anger building in her chest. That's not fair. No, it's not. But life rarely is. Mama turned back to face her. When I found out I was pregnant with you, I went to tell Thomas. I was so happy thinking maybe the baby would make his family accept us. But before I could tell him, his mother, Patricia Whitmore, came to see me. Mama's voice got quiet, like she was remembering something painful. She offered me money, a lot of money, to disappear, to never tell Thomas about the baby. She said if I really loved him, I'd let him live his life without being trapped by an unwanted pregnancy. She made it sound like staying would ruin him. Like I was being selfish by wanting to keep our baby and keep him in my life. What did you do? Maya whispered. I told her to keep her money, told her I didn't want anything from them, that I'd raise you myself, that we didn't need the Whitmores or their money or their approval. Mama's voice was fierce now, proud. And I left, moved from New Haven to Bridgeport, changed my phone number, made sure they couldn't find us. I wanted you to grow up knowing you were loved, not feeling like you were some mistake that had to be hidden away. Maya didn't know whether to feel proud of her mama's strength or angry that she'd kept the secret for 16 years. So what happens now, Maya asked. The lawyer wants to meet with us. Says there's paperwork to sign. Says the Whitmore family is required by law to give you your inheritance. I don't want their money, Maya. I never did. But this isn't about me. This is about you, about your future, about college and opportunities I could never give you. Mama's eyes filled with tears again. So if you want to go to this meeting, if you want to claim what's yours, I'll support you. But baby, I need you to understand something. These people, the Whitmores, they're not like us. They play by different rules. They care more about money and reputation than they do about people. If we walk into their world, everything will change. Maybe change would be good, Maya said, thinking about college applications she couldn't afford to send, about the part-time job she'd need to get next year just to help with bills, about Mama's tired eyes and worn hands. Maybe we deserve something good for once. Mama pulled her into another hug. You deserve the whole world, baby girl. I just hope the price we pay for this inheritance isn't more than it's worth. Maya didn't understand what Mama meant then, but she would. Oh, she would. The law office was in downtown Hartford, in a building so tall Maya had to crane her neck back to see the top. Everything inside was expensive. Leather chairs, dark wood panels, paintings that probably cost more than their car. Maya felt small and out of place in her Goodwill jeans and worn sneakers. The lawyer, a thin man named Mr. Peterson with glasses that kept sliding down his nose, met them in a conference room with a table so shiny Maya could see her reflection in it. Ms. Johnson, Maya, thank you for coming. He shook their hands with a grip that felt practiced, professional, cold. I'm sorry for your loss. I didn't know him, Maya said bluntly. Hard to lose something you never had. Mr. Peterson's smile was uncomfortable. Yes, well, let's discuss the estate. Thomas Whitmore's will specifies that any children of his blood are entitled to a portion of his personal assets. This doesn't include the family business or properties. Those go to his legitimate heir. But his personal investments, savings, and life insurance do include provisions for you. How much are we talking about? Mama asked, her voice careful. Mr. Peterson pushed a paper across the table. Maya looked at the number, and her eyes went wide. $2 million. $2 million just sitting there, waiting for her. This is after taxes and legal fees, Mr. Peterson continued. The money would be placed in a trust until Maya turns 18, but Ms. Johnson would have access to reasonable amounts for Maya's care and education. $2 million. They could move out of the apartment. Mama could quit 2 of her jobs. Maya could go to any college she wanted. They could finally breathe. But Mama was staring at the paper like it might bite her. What's the catch? There's always a catch with the Whitmores. Mr. Peterson shifted uncomfortably. The Whitmore family has requested a meeting before the funds are released. They want to meet Maya. It's not legally required, but they've asked. Why? Maya felt suspicious. You said they didn't want anything to do with us. Things have changed. Thomas had a son, Christopher, from his marriage. Christopher is now the head of the family business. He's the one requesting the meeting. He says he wants to meet his half-sister. Maya looked at Mama. What do you think? Mama was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, I think we take the meeting. But Maya, stay close to me. Don't trust them. And if anything feels wrong, we leave. Deal? Deal. The meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday at the Whitmore estate in Greenwich. Mama borrowed a nice dress from a friend at work. Maya wore the only dress she owned, the one she'd gotten for 8th grade graduation 3 years ago. It was a little short now, a little tight in the shoulders, but it was the best she had. They took the bus because their car wouldn't make it all the way to Greenwich. Then they walked from the bus stop, following the directions Mr. Peterson had given them. The Whitmore estate sat behind iron gates at the end of a long, tree-lined driveway. It wasn't just a house. It was a mansion. 3 stories of white stone with columns like a Greek temple. Windows everywhere, glinting in the afternoon sun. Gardens that looked like something from a magazine. A fountain in the circular driveway with angels spitting water. Maya had never seen anything like it. Didn't know people actually lived in places like this outside of movies. This is where my father lived, she whispered. Mama's face was tight, unreadable. This is where he chose to live, instead of with us. They walked up the steps to the massive front door. Before Mama could ring the bell, the door swung open. A woman in a black uniform, probably a maid, stood there. Ms. Johnson and Miss Maya, the family's expecting you. Follow me, please. The inside of the mansion was even more impressive than the outside. Everything was marble and crystal and gold. A chandelier the size of their entire kitchen hung in the entrance hall. The staircase curved up like something from a fairy tale. And the walls were covered in paintings and photographs in expensive frames. Maya couldn't help staring at everything as they followed the maid through the hall. And that's when she saw it, hanging among the family photos. A picture that stopped her heart. A young woman in a white dress, standing in this very hallway, looking happy and in love and like she belonged here. The woman was black, beautiful, glowing. The woman was her mother. Maya's hand reached out without her permission, touching the frame gently, like it might vanish if she wasn't careful. This didn't make sense. Mama said she'd left before Maya was born, said she'd never been part of the Whitmore world, said they'd rejected her, so why was her picture on their wall? Mama? Maya's voice came out strange, confused. Mama, this is you. Mama had gone very still. All the color had drained from her face. She was staring at the photograph like she'd seen a ghost. That's not possible, Mama whispered. They wouldn't. They couldn't have. But it is you. I know it's you. Maya turned to look at her mother, and she saw something in Mama's eyes she'd never seen before. Fear. Deep, terrible fear. We need to leave, Mama said suddenly, grabbing Maya's arm. Right now. This was a mistake. We should never have come here. But before they could move, before they could run back out the door and catch the bus and pretend they'd never seen this place, a voice spoke from the top of the stairs. Angela, is that really you? Maya looked up to see a woman descending the staircase. She was maybe 60, with blonde hair gone silver and cold blue eyes, and a face that might have been beautiful once but was now hard as stone. She wore a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Mama made in a month. Diamonds glittered at her throat and wrists. She looked like money. She looked like power. She looked like trouble. Hello, Patricia, Mama said, her voice flat and careful. I see you kept the photograph. Of course I kept it. Why wouldn't I? The woman, Patricia Whitmore, reached the bottom of the stairs and stood studying them like they were insects under glass. It was taken on the happiest day of my son's life, the day he married the woman he loved. The world tilted sideways. Maya grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Married? Mama had been married to her father? You told me he never loved me, Mama said, her voice shaking. You told me I was a mistake. You said I'd ruin his life. I lied. Patricia's smile was cold and sharp as a knife. I needed you to leave. And you did. You were always so predictable, Angela. So proud. So stupid. Mama, what is she talking about? Maya felt like she was drowning in confusion. Nothing made sense. Nothing added up. But before Mama could answer, before Patricia could say anything else, a door opened down the hall, and a man stepped out. Tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit. The same man who would later find Maya holding that photograph after she'd wandered away from her mother and gotten lost in the mansion's endless hallways. The man who would look at Maya and see a ghost. The man whose face went pale as death when he saw Angela standing in his entrance hall. No, he breathed. No, this can't be real. Angela, you're supposed to be dead. And that's when Mama started screaming. Mama's scream echoed through the mansion like shattering glass, bouncing off the marble floors and crystal chandeliers. It wasn't a scream of fear. It was a scream of rage, of betrayal, of 16 years of buried pain exploding all at once. Dead! Mama's voice cracked on the word. You told him I was dead! Patricia Whitmore didn't even flinch. She stood there calm as ice, like Mama's breakdown was nothing more than a mild inconvenience. It was necessary, Angela. You wouldn't leave any other way. The silver-haired man, the one who'd said Mama was supposed to be dead, stumbled backward like he'd been punched. His hand gripped the doorframe for support. His eyes were locked on Mama's face with an expression Maya couldn't read. Horror, joy, grief, all three twisted together into something that looked like pain. Christopher, he whispered, but he wasn't looking at Patricia. He was staring at Mama like she was the only person in the world. Christopher, is this real? Am I losing my mind? Is she really here? She's really here, Dad. A younger voice spoke from the doorway behind the man. A tall guy, maybe early 20s, stepped into the hallway. He had the same silver blonde hair as Patricia, the same blue eyes, but his face was kinder somehow. Less hard. He was looking at Maya with curiosity, not coldness. And I'm guessing that's our sister. Sister. The word hit Maya like a brick. She had a brother, a half-brother she'd never known existed. But Mama wasn't paying attention to any of them now. She was advancing on Patricia like a lion stalking prey, her hands balled into fists. You told my husband I was dead. You made him think I died. While I was out there struggling, working 3 jobs, raising our daughter alone, he thought I was dead? Our daughter? The silver-haired man, the one Mama had called her husband, took a shaky step forward. His voice broke on the words. Angela, are you saying you were pregnant when you left? That Maya's my daughter? Of course she's your daughter. Mama spun on him, tears streaming down her face. Did you think I just moved on? Found someone else? I loved you, Thomas. I loved you with everything I had. But your mother came to me and said you didn't want the baby. Said you were ashamed of being with me. Said marrying me was the biggest mistake of your life, and you wanted out. Thomas. So this was Thomas Whitmore, Maya's father, the man who died 2 weeks ago. Except he was standing right here, very much alive, looking at Mama like his heart was breaking in real time. Wait, Maya's voice came out small and confused. Mr. Peterson said my father died. He said Thomas Whitmore died of a heart attack. Christopher, the brother Maya had just discovered she had, made a sound between a laugh and a sob. That was grandfather, Thomas Whitmore Sr. Our grandfather had the heart attack, not Dad. Dad's been alive this whole time. The lies stacked on top of lies were making Maya dizzy. Nothing was what she'd thought. Nothing was true. I never said those things, Thomas said, moving toward Mama slowly, carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. Angela, I swear on everything holy, I never said I didn't want our baby. I didn't even know about the baby. I thought you left because you didn't love me. Because you couldn't handle the pressure of this family. Mother told me you took money and disappeared, that you'd made your choice. I didn't take any money, Mama shouted. I told her to keep her blood money. I left with nothing but my pride and our baby. You're lying, Patricia said calmly, like she was discussing the weather. I have bank records showing a transfer of $500,000 to an account in your name. You took the money and ran, just like I knew you would. I never opened any account. I never took anything from you. Mama was crying and shouting at the same time now, her whole body shaking. Maya felt like she was watching her life explode from the outside, like this was happening to someone else. But the tears on her own cheeks told her it was real. All of it was horribly, impossibly real. Everyone needs to calm down, Christopher said, stepping between his grandmother and Mama. This isn't helping anyone. We need to figure out what actually happened, what the truth is. The truth? Patricia's laugh was like breaking glass. The truth is that this woman is a gold digger who trapped my son into marriage, disappeared when she got a better offer, and now she's back for more money. And she's trained her daughter to play the same game. Don't you dare talk about Maya like that. Thomas's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. Maya had been so focused on Mama that she'd almost forgotten he was there. But now he stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. She's my daughter, my child. And if what Angela is saying is true, if you lied to me about her death, if you paid someone to fake bank records, Mother, so help me God. You'll what? Patricia crossed her arms. Throw me out? Disown me? I built this family's fortune while you were busy playing Romeo with the help. Everything you have is because of me. Every dollar, every connection, every success. You owe me your life. I don't owe you Maya's childhood, Thomas roared. I don't owe you 16 years of lies. The room fell silent, except for Mama's quiet crying. Maya stood frozen, trying to process everything, trying to understand how her entire life had been built on lies, how she could have had a father all along, how Mama could have been married and never told her, how a grandmother she'd never met had destroyed everything before Maya was even born. I need to sit down, Maya heard herself say. Her voice sounded far away, like it was coming from underwater. I need to sit down right now. Christopher was suddenly there, his hand on her elbow, steady and warm. Come on, there's a sitting room right here. Let's get you some water. He guided her through a doorway into a beautiful room with soft couches and tall windows. Maya sank onto a couch and put her head between her knees, trying to breathe, trying not to pass out. Christopher disappeared and came back with a glass of water. Drink this. Slowly. Maya took the glass with shaking hands and sipped. The water was cold and good. It helped clear her head a little. This is insane, Maya whispered. This whole thing is insane. Yeah, Christopher agreed, sitting on the couch across from her. Welcome to the Whitmore family. We specialize in insane. Despite everything, Maya almost smiled. Do you believe her? My mom? Christopher was quiet for a moment, his blue eyes studying her face. You look like Dad. You have his nose, his chin, the way you tilt your head when you're thinking. I've been looking at his face my whole life, and yeah, I see him in you. So either you're really his daughter, or this is the most elaborate con in history. He leaned back. And honestly, my grandmother is capable of anything. So yeah, I believe your mom. I think grandmother has been lying to all of us for 16 years. Why would she do that? Because she's Patricia Whitmore, and she thinks she knows what's best for everyone. She probably convinced herself she was protecting Dad, protecting the family name, protecting the business. Christopher's voice was bitter. She's been controlling Dad's life since my mom died when I was 5. Tells him who to date, who to do business with, how to dress, what to say. I've been fighting her my whole life. But Dad, he just goes along with it. Says it's easier than arguing. That's sad. Yeah, it is. Christopher looked toward the door, where they could still hear raised voices. Your mom must have really loved him to fight grandmother. Most people just give up. Mama's strong, Maya said softly. Strongest person I know. She worked 3 jobs to take care of me. Never complained, never asked for help, just kept going. While Dad thought she was dead, Christopher shook his head. And I thought my family was messed up before. This is a whole new level. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Maya asked the question that had been burning in her mind since she saw that photograph. Why did your grandmother keep that picture? Of my mom in the wedding dress? If she hated her so much, why keep it on the wall? Christopher's face went strange. What picture? In the hallway. There's a picture of my mom in a white dress. I saw it when we came in. Maya, there's no picture like that in the hallway. I've lived here my whole life. The only photos in that hallway are of family members. Grandmother, grandfather, Dad, me, my mom before she died. That's it. But I saw it. I know I saw it. Christopher stood up. Show me. They walked back to the entrance hall together. The adults were still arguing, their voices echoing off the high ceiling. Mama and Thomas were facing Patricia like warriors ready for battle. But Maya ignored them. She walked straight to the spot where she'd seen the photograph. It was gone. In its place hung a painting of a landscape. Rolling hills and blue sky. Nothing special, nothing important. But definitely not the photograph Maya had seen just 10 minutes ago. It was right here, Maya said, touching the wall. I swear it was right here. My mom in a white dress, smiling, standing in this hallway. Christopher frowned. That's weird. Grandmother doesn't change the photos. They've been the same since I was a kid. Maybe I imagined it, Maya said. But she knew she hadn't. She'd seen it, had touched the frame, had felt the glass under her fingers. Or maybe grandmother had someone take it down real fast when she realized you'd seen it, Christopher said thoughtfully. She has staff all over this house. One text message and that picture could be gone in seconds. But why? What would be the point? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. Christopher pulled out his phone. Wait here. He walked away, already typing furiously. Maya stood alone in the hallway, staring at the landscape painting that had replaced her mother's photograph. Nothing about this made sense. Nothing added up. She turned to look at the adults still arguing by the staircase. Thomas had his hands on Mama's shoulders, talking quietly to her, his face full of pain and longing. Mama was crying but listening, and Patricia stood apart, watching them with an expression that made Maya's skin crawl. Cold calculation, like she was planning her next move in a chess game. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a text from her best friend Zoe. How's the rich people meeting going? Are they snobs? Maya almost laughed. Snobs were the least of their problems. She typed back quickly. You have no idea, it's complicated. Tell you later. Another buzz, but this time it wasn't from Zoe. It was from an unknown number. Maya, this is your grandmother Patricia. I need to speak with you privately, it's urgent. Meet me in the library. 3rd door on your left down the east hallway. Come alone. Don't tell your mother or Thomas, please. Maya stared at the message. Every instinct told her not to go, not to trust Patricia, but the word please at the end got her. Patricia didn't seem like someone who said please very often. And Maya needed answers, needed to understand what was happening, why Patricia had done what she'd done, what she wanted now. Against her better judgment, Maya looked around to make sure no one was watching, then slipped down the east hallway. Third door on the left. She found it easily, a dark wooden door with brass handles shaped like lions. She pushed it open and stepped inside. The library was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves packed with leather-bound books. A stone fireplace with a fire crackling in it, even though it was May. Comfortable chairs. A huge desk covered in papers. And Patricia standing by the window, looking out at the gardens. "Close the door, Maya," Patricia said without turning around. Maya hesitated, but she was here now. Might as well see what the woman wanted. She closed the door and stayed near it, ready to run if needed. Patricia turned around. In the soft light of the library, she looked older, tired, almost human. "I suppose you think I'm a monster," Patricia said. "I think you lied to everyone for 16 years, Maya replied. "I think you made my mom suffer, made my dad suffer, made me grow up without a father. So yeah, monster seems about right." Patricia's mouth twitched. It might have been a smile. "Fair enough. But Maya, I need you to understand something. Everything I did to protect this family. By destroying it, by keeping it intact." Patricia walked to the desk and pulled out a folder. "Your mother was 19 when she married my son. 19 years old, working as a maid in this very house. Thomas was 22 and thought he knew everything. They fell in love and I couldn't stop it. Couldn't make him see that it was a mistake. Why was it a mistake? Because my mom was black? Because she was poor? Because she wasn't prepared for this life." Patricia's voice rose. "Do you have any idea what it takes to be part of this family? The pressure, the expectations, the constant judgment, the media attention?" Angela was a sweet girl, but she was naive, sheltered. She had no idea what she was getting into. "So you decided for her that she couldn't handle it. I decided to give her an out, a way to escape before the pressure destroyed her, before the media tore her apart, before society wives shredded her reputation." Patricia opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. "These are articles from when Thomas and Angela got married." Read them. Maya took the papers reluctantly. They were printouts of old news articles and blog posts. The headlines made her stomach turn. "Gold digger lands billionaire. Whitmore heir marries the help. Love or money? Inside the scandalous Whitmore wedding. From maid to mistress, the Cinderella story that has everyone talking." The articles were cruel, vicious. They picked apart everything about Mama, her clothes, her hair, her background, her education. They called her a social climber, a fortune hunter, a woman who'd trapped Thomas into marriage by getting pregnant. "She wasn't pregnant when they got married," Maya said, her voice shaking. "You said she found out after." "The press didn't know that. They assumed. And once the press decides on a narrative, the truth doesn't matter." Patricia took the papers back. "Your mother couldn't go anywhere without cameras following her. Couldn't shop or eat or exist without someone judging her. I watched her wilt under the pressure, watched her cry herself to sleep, watched her lose weight because she was too anxious to eat. So you decided to end it for her. I decided to give her a choice. Stay and be miserable, or leave with enough money to build a new life, a better life, a life where she could be happy. She didn't take the money. I know that now." Patricia's face was unreadable. "But I didn't know it then. I thought she'd taken it and run. Thought she'd chosen money over love, just like everyone expected her to. It made sense. It fit the narrative. So I told Thomas she'd taken the money and left, that she didn't want to be found." "And the death thing?" Patricia looked away. "That came later, after Thomas spent 2 years trying to find her, hiring private investigators, offering rewards. He couldn't move on, couldn't let go. It was destroying him, destroying the business. So I did what I thought was necessary. I told him Angela had died in a car accident, made it seem real enough that he'd finally grieve and move on. Maya felt sick. You faked my mother's death. To save my son, Patricia said fiercely. Thomas was falling apart. The business was suffering. He wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. He was obsessed with finding a woman who clearly didn't want to be found. So yes, I gave him closure the only way I could. That's twisted. That's love, Maya. Messy and complicated and sometimes cruel, but always with the best intentions. Patricia pulled out another paper. And now you're here, and everything I built is falling apart. Thomas knows the truth. Angela knows the truth. And soon the whole world will know. The press will have a field day. The stock will crash. Our reputation will be destroyed. Everything I've worked for my entire life will burn. Good, Maya said coldly. Patricia's eyes narrowed. You don't mean that. You're a smart girl, Maya. You understand that if this family falls, you fall with it. The inheritance you came here for, it won't exist if the company collapses. The money, the opportunities, the future, all of it disappears. You'll go back to that tiny apartment above the laundromat with nothing but the satisfaction of knowing you brought down a family empire. I didn't come here to bring anyone down. I came here because your lawyer said I had an inheritance. And you do. $2 million. But that money is tied to family trust funds and investments. If the company tanks, the trusts dissolve. Your inheritance becomes worthless. Patricia leaned forward. But it doesn't have to go that way. We can fix this. Control the damage. Spin the narrative. Make everyone look good. How? By telling a different story. Angela didn't run away. She left to protect herself and her unborn child from media harassment. She was young and scared and made the best choice she could. Thomas didn't know about the baby because Angela was protecting him too. Everyone was acting out of love. No villains. Just complicated circumstances and tragic misunderstandings. That's not the truth. The truth is whatever we make it, Maya. That's how the world works. We control the narrative, or the narrative controls us. Patricia pulled out a final document. I'm prepared to offer your mother a formal apology, public acknowledgement of the family's mistakes, a restoration of her place as Thomas's wife, full access to family resources and accounts. And for you, not just $2 million, but $10 million. Plus a full ride scholarship to any college you choose. Plus a guaranteed position in the family business if you want it. Maya's head spun. $10 million. A full scholarship. A job waiting for her. Everything she and Mama had ever struggled for, handed to them on a silver platter. What's the catch? Maya asked. The catch is that everyone plays along with the new story. Angela forgives me publicly. Thomas forgives me publicly. You forgive me publicly. We present a united family front. We move forward together. No lawsuits, no exposés, no revenge. Just a family reunited after years of tragic misunderstanding. Patricia's smile was thin. Everyone wins, Maya. Your mother gets her husband back. You get your father. I get to preserve what I've built. Christopher gets to keep his inheritance. The employees keep their jobs. The charities we fund keep their donations. Everyone wins. Except the truth loses. The truth is a luxury we can't afford right now. Patricia held out the document. Read it over. Talk to your mother. Think about what you really want. Do you want justice, or do you want a future? Maya took the document with numb fingers. It was a contract. Pages and pages of legal language that boiled down to one thing. Shut up and take the money. I need to think about this, Maya said. Of course. Take your time. Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. But Maya, while you're thinking, remember something. Your mother kept you from your father for 16 years. She's not perfect either. She made choices that hurt people too. Sometimes there are no good guys and bad guys. Just people trying to survive in an impossible situation. The words hit harder than Maya wanted to admit. Because Patricia was right. Mama had kept secrets too. Had let Maya believe her father was just some guy who didn't want them. Had never mentioned being married. Had hidden an entire life. Maya walked out of the library in a daze. The contract clutched in her hand. The hallway seemed longer now. The mansion felt bigger. Everything was too much. She found Christopher coming around the corner, his phone still in his hand. There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. I found something. Something about that photograph. He stopped when he saw her face. What's wrong? What happened? Your grandmother made me an offer. Of course she did. She always does. Christopher's jaw tightened. What did she offer? Money. Lots of money, and a story that makes everyone look good. No villains, just misunderstandings. And I don't know what to do. Maya felt tears burning her eyes. Part of me wants to tell her to keep her money, that we don't need the Whitmores, that we've survived this long without them and we can keep surviving. But another part of me thinks about Mama, about how tired she is, how hard she works, how she deserves to rest, to be happy, to have the life she gave up. Christopher put a hand on her shoulder. Hey, you don't have to decide right now. This is huge. You're allowed to think about it. What would you do? Honestly, I'd tell grandmother to shove her money where the sun doesn't shine. He grinned, but it was sad. But I've had the luxury of always having money. I've never had to choose between pride and survival. So maybe my answer doesn't count. Maya wiped her eyes. You said you found something? About the photograph? Christopher's face got serious again. Yeah, I asked the head of security to pull the surveillance footage from the entrance hall, from the time you and your mom arrived. And Maya, there's something really weird about it. Show me. They walked to a small office near the back of the house. Christopher pulled up a video on a computer. It showed the entrance hall from a camera mounted high on the wall. Maya watched herself and Mama follow the maid inside. Watched herself stop and stare at something on the wall. Watched herself reach out and touch a frame. But on the video, the frame Maya was touching showed the landscape painting, not a photograph of her mother. The landscape had been there the whole time. That's impossible, Maya breathed. I saw my mom's picture. I know I did. That's what I thought too. But look at this. Christopher rewound the video and zoomed in on Maya's face. Watch your expression. You're not looking at a landscape. You're looking at something that shocks you, something that changes everything. Your face tells a different story than the camera does. So either I'm crazy or someone edited the video. Or both. Christopher sat back. But here's the thing. Our security system is supposed to be unhackable, top of the line, cost a fortune. The only people with access to edit footage are my grandmother, my dad, and the head of security. And the footage shows no sign of tampering, no cuts, no glitches. Just a continuous shot of you staring at a landscape painting like it's the Mona Lisa. Maya's brain hurt trying to figure it out. So what does it mean? I don't know, but I don't like it. Something's going on here. Something bigger than just grandmother's lies. Christopher closed the laptop. Maya, I know we just met. I know you have no reason to trust me, but whatever's happening, I'm on your side. Okay? You're my sister. That means something to me. The word sister hit Maya in the chest. She'd always wanted a sibling, someone to share the burden of life with. And here he was, this brother she'd never known, offering exactly that. Thank you, she whispered. Before Christopher could respond, an alarm started blaring, loud and shrill and terrifying. Red lights flashed in the hallway. What's that? Maya shouted over the noise. Christopher's face went pale. That's the medical alarm. Someone's hurt. Someone needs help. They ran toward the sound, following the flashing lights. Other people were running too. Staff members, security guards, all converging on the same place, the entrance hall. When Maya burst into the room, she saw Thomas kneeling on the floor, his phone pressed to his ear. Yes, 1247 Whitmore Lane. We need an ambulance immediately. She's not breathing. Please hurry. And there, lying on the marble floor with her eyes closed and her skin too pale and her chest terrifyingly still, was Mama. Maya couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at Mama lying on that cold marble floor like a broken doll. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Mama had been fine 10 minutes ago. Angry and crying, yes, but alive. Breathing. Fighting. Now she looked like a statue, like all the life had been sucked out of her in an instant. Mama! Maya's scream ripped out of her throat as she ran forward, dropping to her knees beside her mother. Mama! Wake up! Please wake up! Thomas had his fingers pressed to Mama's neck, checking for a pulse. His face was chalk white, his hands shaking. She's breathing, barely, but her pulse is weak, too weak. He looked up at the security guard hovering nearby. Where's that ambulance? How long? 5 minutes out, sir. They're coming as fast as they can. 5 minutes felt like 5 years. Maya grabbed Mama's hand and squeezed it tight, willing her to squeeze back, willing her to open her eyes, willing this nightmare to end. What happened? Christopher demanded, looking around at the staff members who'd gathered. Someone tell me what happened. A young maid stepped forward, her voice trembling. I was dusting in the sitting room. Mrs. Whitmore Sr. and Mrs. Angela were talking. Well, arguing, really. Mrs. Whitmore Sr. was saying something about how Mrs. Angela should have stayed away. That coming back was dangerous, that some secrets should stay buried. And then Mrs. Angela just grabbed her chest and collapsed. Maya's head snapped toward Patricia, who stood at the base of the stairs looking pale but composed. Too composed. Like this was inconvenient rather than catastrophic. What did you do to her? Maya's voice came out like a growl. What did you say? I was simply telling her the truth, Patricia said calmly, that returning to this family comes with consequences she's not prepared for. You threatened her. I warned her. There's a difference. Christopher stepped between Maya and Patricia before things could escalate. Not now. We can fight later. Right now, Angela needs help. The ambulance arrived in a blur of flashing lights and urgent voices. Paramedics swarmed in with equipment and stretchers and professional efficiency. They asked questions Maya couldn't focus on. Medical history, allergies, current medications. Thomas answered what he could, but he'd been separated from Mama for 16 years. There was so much he didn't know. She has high blood pressure, Maya managed to say through her panic. She takes medication for it. Blue pills. I don't know what they're called. And she's been stressed lately, really stressed. One of the paramedics nodded, making notes. They checked Mama's vitals, hooked her up to monitors, started an IV. All of it happened so fast Maya could barely process it. We need to transport her immediately, the lead paramedic said. Is someone riding with her? I am, Maya and Thomas said at the same time. They looked at each other. Thomas's eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. You're her daughter. You should go. You're her husband. You should go too. Maya's voice cracked. Please, she needs both of us. The paramedic looked between them and made a quick decision. Fine, you both can come. But stay out of our way and let us work. They loaded Mama into the ambulance. Maya climbed in on one side, Thomas on the other. Through the back windows, Maya saw Christopher standing on the mansion steps, his phone already pressed to his ear, probably calling ahead to the hospital. And behind him, Patricia watched with an expression Maya couldn't read. The ride to the hospital was the longest 10 minutes of Maya's life. The paramedics worked on Mama with focused intensity, checking monitors, adjusting IV flows, communicating in medical shorthand Maya didn't understand. All she understood was that Mama's face was still too pale, her breathing still too shallow, and the beeping from the heart monitor sounded wrong somehow. Too fast and too irregular. Is she going to be okay? Maya whispered. The paramedic meeting her eyes was young, maybe mid-20s with kind brown eyes. We're doing everything we can. The hospital will have more resources. Just hold on. Hold on. Like it was that simple. Like Maya could just hold on and everything would be fine. But nothing about this was fine. Nothing had been fine since they'd walked into that mansion. Thomas sat across from her, holding Mama's other hand, tears streaming silently down his face. This is my fault, he said quietly. If I'd fought harder for her 16 years ago, if I'd refused to believe she was dead, if I'd kept searching, it's not your fault, Maya said, even though part of her wanted to blame him, wanted to blame everyone. It's your mother's fault. She's the one who lied, the one who kept you apart, the one who threatened Mama today. What did she threaten her with? Thomas looked up sharply. What did Mother say? Maya remembered the maid's words, that some secrets should stay buried. I don't know, but your mom said coming back was dangerous, that there were consequences Mama wasn't prepared for. What did she mean? Thomas's face went even paler, if that was possible. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. As soon as Angela is stable, I'm going to get answers. All of them. No more secrets. No more lies. The ambulance pulled up to the emergency entrance. The back doors flew open and hospital staff were waiting. They transferred Mama to a gurney and wheeled her inside at a run. Maya and Thomas tried to follow, but a nurse stopped them. Family waiting room is down the hall to the left. Someone will come update you as soon as we know something. But I need to be with her, Maya protested. And you will be. As soon as she's stable. Right now we need space to work. Please. The nurse's voice was kind but firm. The best thing you can do for her is let us do our job. The waiting room was sterile and cold, with uncomfortable plastic chairs and fluorescent lights that hurt Maya's eyes. A TV in the corner played the news on mute. Magazines from 6 months ago sat scattered on a table. Everything about it felt wrong, like the universe had put them in a room designed to make bad news worse. Christopher arrived 20 minutes later, slightly out of breath. Any word? Thomas shook his head. Nothing yet. They're running tests. That's all we know. Christopher sat down next to Maya and handed her a bottle of water. You need to drink something and breathe. You're going to pass out if you keep holding your breath like that. Maya hadn't even realized she was holding her breath. She forced herself to breathe in slowly, then out, in and out, like it was something she had to remember how to do. Where's your grandmother? Maya asked. Still at the house. I told her to stay there. Figured the last thing anyone needed was Patricia Whitmore showing up here. Christopher's jaw was tight. I also called our family lawyer. Not Mr. Peterson, our real lawyer, the one who handles the serious stuff. Told him we need to talk about some contracts and some lies and some possible fraud charges. You think there's a case? Thomas asked. I think grandmother faked someone's death, manipulated bank records, and potentially stole $500,000. Yeah, Dad. I think there's a case. Christopher's voice was hard. The question is whether you're willing to press charges against your own mother. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. If Angela wants to press charges when she wakes up, I'll support her. Whatever she wants, however she wants to handle this. It's her choice. When she wakes up. Not if. When. Maya clung to that. Mama was going to wake up. Had to wake up. The alternative was unthinkable. An hour crawled by. Then 2. Maya paced the waiting room like a caged animal. Christopher got coffee from a machine down the hall that tasted like dirt, but gave them something to do with their hands. Thomas made phone calls, canceling meetings, rearranging his schedule, telling his assistant that family emergency meant he wasn't available for anything. Finally, a doctor emerged. She was middle-aged with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a ponytail and tired eyes that had seen too much. Family of Angela Johnson? They all stood at once. I'm her daughter, Maya. This is her husband, Thomas, and that's his son, Christopher. The doctor nodded. Angela suffered what we call a hypertensive crisis. Her blood pressure spiked to dangerous levels, which put massive strain on her heart and brain. We've stabilized her for now, but she's in critical condition. Can we see her? Maya's voice came out small and scared. In a little bit. We're moving her to the ICU. Once she's settled, you can visit briefly. But I need to be honest with you. The next 24 hours are crucial. We're monitoring her closely for signs of stroke or heart damage. Her body's been under tremendous stress, both physical and emotional. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourselves for the possibility that she might not recover. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Might not recover, might die, might leave her just when they'd found Thomas. Just when everything was supposed to finally be okay. No, Maya said firmly. She's going to be fine. She's the strongest person I know. She survived everything life threw at her. She's not giving up now. The doctor's expression was kind but realistic. I hope you're right, but sometimes the body can only take so much. Sometimes strength isn't enough. She pulled out a card. This is my direct number. Call if you need anything or have questions. The ICU nurse will come get you when Angela's ready for visitors. After the doctor left, Thomas pulled Maya into a hug. She resisted for a second, then collapsed into it, letting this stranger who was her father hold her while she cried. 16 years of missing him, 16 years of anger at him for not being there, and now here he was, and she didn't know how to feel except scared and grateful and furious all at once. She's going to make it, Thomas said into Maya's hair. Your mother's a fighter, always has been. She fought my mother, fought poverty, fought to give you a good life. She's not done fighting yet. Maya wanted to believe him, needed to believe him, but the doctor's words kept echoing in her head. Sometimes strength isn't enough. They waited another 45 minutes before a nurse came to get them. She led them through a maze of hallways to the ICU, a place that smelled like antiseptic and despair. Mama was in a room with glass walls so the nurses could monitor her constantly. She was hooked up to so many machines Maya lost count. Monitors beeping, IV lines running, oxygen tube under her nose. She looked small in the hospital bed, fragile. Nothing like the strong woman who'd raised Maya alone. You can go in two at a time, the nurse said. Keep visits short. Don't upset her. She needs rest more than anything right now. Maya and Thomas went in first. They stood on either side of the bed, each taking one of Mama's hands. Her skin felt cool and papery. Maya squeezed gently, and after a moment, Mama's eyes fluttered open. Baby girl, she whispered. Her voice was rough, like it hurt to talk. You're okay. Thank God. I thought, I'm fine, Mama. I'm right here. And so is Thomas. Maya looked across the bed at her father, who was crying openly now, not even trying to hide it. Mama's eyes found Thomas's face. Something passed between them, something Maya was too young to fully understand, but recognized as love. Deep, complicated, painful love that had survived 16 years in lies and a grandmother's manipulation. You're not dead, Mama said to Thomas. Neither are you, he replied, though you gave us quite a scare. Patricia said, Mama's face tightened. She said things about why I should have stayed away, about dangers, about secrets that couldn't come out. Thomas, there's something I never told you, something that happened right before I left. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it, Thomas said firmly. Together, the way we should have dealt with everything 16 years ago. But before Mama could say more, her eyes rolled back in her head. The heart monitor started beeping frantically. Alarms blared. Code blue, room 7. The nurse's voice cracked through the intercom. Medical staff flooded the room, pushing Maya and Thomas out of the way. You need to leave, now. Christopher grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her into the hallway. Through the glass, they watched doctors and nurses swarm around Mama's bed. Watch them work with urgent efficiency. Watch the monitors that told a story Maya didn't want to understand. What's happening? Maya's voice was high and panicked. What's wrong with her? Her heart stopped, Christopher said quietly. They're trying to restart it. Maya watched them put paddles on Mama's chest, watched her body jerk from the electricity. Once, twice, 3 times. The monitor stayed flat. The beeping turned into a single, continuous tone that sounded like the end of the world. No, no, this couldn't be happening. Mama couldn't die. Not now. Not like this. Not without telling them whatever secret she'd been about to reveal. Come on, Mama, Maya whispered, her hands pressed against the glass. Come on, you're a fighter. Fight, please fight. As if she'd heard, the monitor blipped, then beeped, then settled into a rhythm that was fast but steady. The medical team stepped back. The crisis had passed, for now. The doctor from earlier came out, pulling off her gloves. She's stable again, but barely. I'm going to be blunt with you. Angela's heart is weak, very weak. The stress of the past few days, combined with years of untreated high blood pressure, has damaged it significantly. She needs surgery, a bypass, maybe more. But she's not strong enough for surgery right now. We need to get her stabilized first. How long will that take? Thomas asked. Days, maybe weeks, and that's if nothing else goes wrong. The doctor looked at all 3 of them. I need to know if Angela has any advance directives. A living will, healthcare proxy, anything that specifies what she'd want if her heart stops again. Maya felt cold all over. You mean if she dies? I mean if we can't revive her. If we need to know whether to continue life-saving measures or let her go peacefully. The doctor's voice was gentle but firm. These are hard questions, but they're important ones, especially in critical situations like this. She'd want you to keep trying, Maya said immediately. She'd want to live. She's got too much to live for now. We just found Thomas. We just became a family. She can't give up now. Then we'll keep fighting as long as she does, the doctor promised. But you should all go home. Get some rest. There's nothing more you can do here tonight. We'll call if anything changes. I'm not leaving, Maya said stubbornly. Maya, the doctor's right. Thomas put a hand on her shoulder. You're exhausted. You need food and sleep. We can come back first thing in the morning. But what if something happens? What if she needs me? Then the hospital will call and we'll come right back. Thomas squeezed her shoulder. But collapsing from exhaustion won't help your mother. Trust me on this. Maya didn't want to leave. Every instinct screamed at her to stay, to keep watch, to be there if Mama woke up, or if Mama got worse, or if Mama needed anything at all. But Thomas was right. She was so tired she could barely stand, and she hadn't eaten since breakfast, which felt like it had happened in another lifetime. Okay, she finally agreed, but we come back first thing in the morning, and if they call, we come immediately. Deal. Christopher drove them back to the mansion in his car, a sleek BMW that probably cost more than Mama made in 5 years. The ride was quiet, everyone lost in their own thoughts, their own fears. When they pulled up to the mansion, Patricia was waiting on the front steps. She stood perfectly still in the golden light of the setting sun, her cream suit traded for a dark dress that made her look like she was already in mourning. How is she? Patricia asked as they got out of the car. Alive. Barely. Thomas's voice was cold. No thanks to you. Thomas, I never meant... You never mean anything, Mother. You just do whatever you think is best and deal with the consequences later, or make other people deal with the consequences while you pretend your hands are clean. Thomas walked past her toward the door. I'm getting Maya some food. Then we're talking, all of us, and you're going to tell me the truth about everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every secret, all of it. Patricia's composure cracked slightly. Thomas, there are some things you don't need to know. Some things that are better left buried. That's what you said 16 years ago about Angela. Look how well that worked out. Thomas held the door open for Maya and Christopher. Dinner in 1 hour. The dining room. Be there, Mother, and be prepared to answer questions you're not going to like. Inside, the mansion felt different now. Less impressive, more oppressive, like the walls were closing in. Maya followed Thomas through hallways that all looked the same, up a staircase that curved elegantly, to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment back home. This was my room when I was young, Thomas said, opening the door. Before I moved to the master suite after my father died. I thought you might want to stay here rather than a guest room. Make it feel more personal, more like family. The room was beautiful. A huge bed with a canopy, a window seat overlooking the gardens, bookshelves and a desk and art on the walls. Everything a teenage girl could want. Everything Maya had never had. It's too much, Maya whispered. It's not enough, Thomas corrected. I owe you 16 years of birthdays and Christmases and ordinary Wednesday afternoons. I owe you so much, Maya. Let me start repaying it. Please. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Thomas left her alone to freshen up, promising to send someone with food shortly. Maya sat on the edge of the bed and looked around at this room that was supposed to be hers, at this life that was supposed to be hers, at this family that she'd discovered just in time to watch it tear itself apart. Her phone buzzed. She'd forgotten about it completely. When she checked, she found dozens of missed calls and messages. Zoe asking what was happening. Her mama's boss at the diner, wondering why Mama hadn't shown up for her shift. The landlord asking about next month's rent. The normal world still spinning. Not knowing that Maya's world had exploded, she texted Zoe back. Can't explain everything now, but my life just got really complicated. We'll call you when I can. Then she texted Mama's boss. Family emergency, Mom in hospital, won't be at work for a while. The landlord could wait. A knock on the door. A kind-faced woman in a uniform brought in a tray of food. Sandwiches, fruit, soup, cookies. Enough for 3 people, let alone 1. Mr. Whitmore thought you might be hungry, the woman said with a warm smile. I'm Nadine. I've worked here for 20 years. If you need anything at all, just press the button by the bed. Someone will come right away. Thank you, Maya managed. After Nadine left, Maya tried to eat, but everything tasted like cardboard. Her mind kept replaying the day's events. The photograph that might not have existed. Patricia's offer. Mama's collapse. The sound of that heart monitor flatlining. She was pushing food around her plate when someone knocked again. This time it was Christopher. Mind if I come in? Sure. Christopher sat in the desk chair, spinning it to face her. That was a hell of a first day with the family, huh? You could say that. For what it's worth, it's not always this intense. Sometimes we go whole weeks without anyone collapsing or revealing decades-old secrets. He smiled, but it was sad. Okay, that's a lie. We're pretty much always this level of disaster. You just happened to walk into the middle of an especially bad chapter. Why are you being so nice to me? Maya asked suddenly. I'm some stranger who showed up claiming to be your sister. For all you know, this whole thing could be a scam. Christopher was quiet for a moment. You want the truth? Always. I've been alone in this family for a long time. It's just been me, Dad, and Grandmother. And they're so busy fighting each other or running the company or playing their power games that I've felt like a ghost in my own house. When you showed up today, when I saw you standing there looking as lost and confused as I've felt my whole life, I thought maybe I finally found someone who gets it. Someone who sees this family for what it really is instead of what it pretends to be. He leaned forward. Plus, you really do look like Dad. Same nose, same chin, same stubborn tilt to your head when you're thinking hard. You're not a scam, Maya. You're family. And I've wanted family that felt real for longer than I can remember. Maya felt tears burning her eyes again. She was so tired of crying, but she couldn't seem to stop. I wanted a sibling my whole life, someone to talk to, someone who understood. And now I have you. And I don't even know if I get to keep you because everything is falling apart. Hey, Christopher moved to sit beside her on the bed. You've got me. No matter what happens with the lawyers or the money or any of that stuff, you're my sister. That's permanent. Even if you decide you hate this family and want nothing to do with us, you're still my sister. Nothing changes that. Promise? Promise. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Christopher said, I kept digging about that photograph, the one you saw, or thought you saw. And I found something weird. The painting that's hanging there now, the landscape, it was purchased 3 months ago, which means something else was hanging there before. But I can't find any record of what it was. No inventory logs, no purchase records. It's like whatever was there before got erased from existence. Why would your grandmother erase a photograph of my mom? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But here's the thing. Grandmother keeps everything. She's obsessive about documentation, family photos, business records, receipts from 20 years ago. She never throws anything away. So if a photo of your mom existed, and now it doesn't, someone went to a lot of trouble to make it disappear. Christopher pulled out his phone. I'm going to keep digging. Talk to some of the longtime staff. See if anyone remembers a photo like you described. Be careful, Maya said. Your grandmother seems like the kind of person who doesn't like people asking questions. She's definitely that kind of person. But lucky for us, I'm the kind of person who asks questions anyway. Christopher stood. Dinner in 30 minutes. You should probably change. Grandmother expects formal dining attire. Maya looked down at her Goodwill jeans and worn t-shirt. I don't have formal dining attire. I'll have Nadine bring something. She's about your size, don't worry. Christopher headed for the door, then paused. Maya, I'm glad you're here. Even with all the chaos, I'm really glad you're here. After he left, Maya sat alone with her thoughts. Somewhere in this mansion was the truth about what had happened 16 years ago. About why Patricia had been so desperate to drive Mom away. About what secrets needed to stay buried. And Maya was going to find that truth. For Mama, for herself, for the family they deserved to be, even if it destroyed everything in the process. 30 minutes later, Maya stood in front of the mirror wearing a simple black dress Nadine had brought her. It fit perfectly, made her look older, more sophisticated, more like she belonged in a mansion instead of above a laundromat. But she didn't feel like she belonged. She felt like an imposter playing dress-up in someone else's life. The dining room was massive, a table that could seat 20 people, crystal chandeliers, windows overlooking the gardens, And there, already seated, were Thomas at the head of the table, Christopher on his right, and Patricia on his left. An empty seat waited across from Christopher. Maya's seat. "Maya, you look lovely," Thomas said, standing as she entered. "Please sit. We'll eat first, then talk. No point having difficult conversations on empty stomachs." The meal was served by staff who moved silently, efficiently. Course after course of food Maya couldn't name. Everything was delicious, but she barely tasted it. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, after dessert was cleared away and coffee was poured, Thomas folded his hands on the table and looked directly at his mother. "Start talking, Mother, and this time I want the whole truth. Why were you so desperate to get rid of Angela? What did she know that scared you so much? What secrets are you still hiding?" Patricia took a sip of her coffee, calm as ever. "There are some things you don't need to know, Thomas. That's not your decision to make anymore. Tell me, now." Patricia set down her cup carefully. When she looked up, her eyes were hard. "Fine. You want the truth? The truth is that Angela saw something the night before you got married. Something I thought I'd hidden perfectly. But she was always too observant, too curious. And what she saw would have destroyed this family if it had gotten out." "What did she see?" Thomas's voice was dangerously quiet. Patricia stood and walked to the window, looking out at the gardens lit by spotlights. "She saw me with your father. That last night. She saw what really happened. And if she'd told anyone, if the police had investigated properly, I'd be in prison right now instead of sitting at this table." The room went deathly silent. Christopher had gone pale. Thomas looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. "Mother," Thomas said slowly, "what are you saying?" Patricia turned to face them, and for the first time, Maya saw something like emotion on her face. Regret, fear, shame, all three mixed together. "I'm saying that your father's death wasn't an accident, Thomas, and Angela knew it. That's why I had to make her disappear. That's why she could never come back, because she's the only person alive who knows what I did." The confession hung in the air like smoke, thick and poisonous. Maya felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Patricia Whitmore had just admitted to murder, not in a roundabout way, not with careful legal language, just straight out admitted that she'd killed Thomas's father and Mama had witnessed it. Christopher's coffee cup clattered against the saucer, splattering dark liquid across the white tablecloth. Thomas sat frozen, his face completely blank, like his brain couldn't process what he'd just heard. "You killed my father." Thomas's voice came out flat, emotionless. But Maya could see his hands shaking, could see the vein pulsing in his temple, could see everything inside him breaking apart in real time. "You murdered him." "I ended his suffering," Patricia corrected, like there was a difference. "Your father was dying." "Thomas, the doctors gave him 6 months, maybe less. Cancer, aggressive, painful. He was going to waste away, lose his dignity, die in agony. I gave him a peaceful exit instead. That wasn't your choice to make." Thomas shot to his feet, the chair clattering backward. "He was my father. He deserved to make his own decisions about his own death." "He was weak," Patricia said coldly. "He would have chosen to fight, to drag out the inevitable, to bankrupt the family on experimental treatments that wouldn't work. I saved him from himself, saved all of us." Christopher found his voice, though it came out strangled. "How? How did you do it?" Patricia looked at her grandson with something almost like affection. "You don't need those details, Christopher." "Yes, I do. We all do." Christopher's hands were balled into fists. "You just admitted to murder. The least you can do is tell us how." Patricia sighed, like they were being unreasonable, like she was the victim here. "Fine. Your grandfather had a heart condition. Nothing serious, but he took medication for it. Blood thinners. I simply gave him too much. Made his death look like a complication from the cancer treatment. The doctors never suspected. Why would they? I was the devoted wife, staying by his bedside day and night, holding his hand as he slipped away." Maya felt sick. This was the woman who'd destroyed her mother's life, who'd kept her from Thomas, who'd offered her $10 million just hours ago to stay quiet. And she was a murderer, a cold, calculating murderer who'd killed her own husband and felt no remorse. Angela saw you, Maya said quietly. All eyes turned to her. That's what you meant earlier. Mama saw you giving him the medication. Saw you kill him. Patricia nodded. She was working that night. Came to check on Edward when she should have been on break. Walked in at exactly the wrong moment, or the right moment, depending on your perspective. She saw me with the syringe, saw me inject medication into his IV line, and she knew. I could see it in her eyes. She knew what I'd done. So you threatened her, Thomas said, his voice hard as stone. You made her think I'd die too if she didn't disappear. I gave her a choice. Stay and watch you end up like your father, or leave and keep you safe. It wasn't personal, Angela. It was practical. It was evil. Thomas slammed his hand on the table. You killed my father and then used that murder to manipulate the woman I loved into abandoning me. You stole 16 years of my life, 16 years with my daughter. How is that practical? How is any of that acceptable? Because it kept you safe. Patricia's composure finally cracked. Don't you understand? Angela was going to go to the police. She was going to report what she'd seen. And then what? I'd go to prison. The family would be destroyed by scandal. The business would collapse. And you, Thomas, you would be left with nothing. No mother, no company, no fortune. Just debt and shame and ruin. I would have had Angela, Thomas said quietly. I would have had my daughter. That would have been enough. No, it wouldn't have. You're a Whitmore. We need more than love. We need power, position, wealth. I gave you all of that. You built an empire because I made the hard choices you were too weak to make. Christopher stood up slowly. You're insane. You know that, right? Completely, totally insane. Patricia looked at her grandson with something like disappointment. I'm realistic. There's a difference. I did what was necessary to protect this family, to protect all of you, and I'd do it again. Then you're going to prison, Thomas said. Right now. I'm calling the police. You're going to confess to them what you just confessed to us, and you're going to pay for what you did. Patricia's smile was thin and cold. With what evidence, Thomas? Your father died 24 years ago. His body was cremated. There's no physical evidence. No witnesses except Angela, and she's in a hospital bed fighting for her life. Without her testimony, all you have is the word of an old woman who might be suffering from dementia, who might be making up stories, who might be confused. You're not confused, Maya said. You know exactly what you did. Prove it. Patricia crossed her arms. Go ahead. Call the police. Tell them I just confessed to a decades-old murder with no evidence. See how far that gets you. Meanwhile, the press will have a field day. Whitmore family torn apart by murder accusations. Billionaire clan implodes over ancient scandal. The stock will tank. The business will suffer. Everyone will lose. I don't care about the business, Thomas shouted. You should. It employs 3,000 people, 3,000 families who depend on their paychecks. Are you willing to destroy all their lives just to get revenge on me? Thomas opened his mouth, closed it. The conflict played across his face. Duty versus justice. Responsibility versus revenge. The good of many versus the good of few. Maya saw her father being torn in half by impossible choices. This is exactly what you do, Christopher said, his voice shaking with rage. You back people into corners, make them choose between bad options and worse ones. Then you pretend you're the hero for giving them the choice in the first place. I'm the villain who keeps this family afloat, Patricia said. Someone has to make the hard decisions. Someone has to be willing to get their hands dirty while everyone else stays clean and judges from a distance. My mother almost died today because of you, Maya said, standing up. Her whole body was trembling with fury. She collapsed because you threatened her, because you told her that coming back was dangerous, that secrets needed to stay buried. You put her in that hospital bed. That's on you. I was trying to protect her, Patricia's voice rose. Don't you understand? If this gets out, if the police start investigating, Angela becomes a target. She's the only witness, the only person who can put me away. Do you think I'm the only one with secrets to protect? Do you think there aren't other people who would want her silenced permanently? A chill ran down Maya's spine. What are you talking about? What other people? Patricia looked like she'd said too much. Her face closed off, became unreadable again. Nothing. Forget I said anything. No. Thomas moved around the table toward his mother. You've said too much already to stop now. What other people, Mother? Who else knows about this? It doesn't matter. It matters if Angela's in danger. Thomas grabbed Patricia's shoulders. Tell me. Now. Who else knows what you did? Patricia pulled away from him. Edward wasn't just my husband. He was involved in things. Business dealings that weren't entirely legal. He made enemies. Powerful enemies. When he died, those people lost money. Lost connections. They weren't happy about it. A few of them suspected it wasn't natural causes. Suspected I'd helped him along. And, Christopher pressed, and I made a deal with them. Gave them what they wanted. Business contracts, inside information, access to markets they couldn't reach on their own. In exchange, they kept quiet about their suspicions. They agreed Edward's death was natural. End of story. Except it's not the end, Maya said, understanding dawning. Because if the truth comes out now, those people will be implicated too. They'll go down with you for covering up a murder. So they have a reason to want Mama silent. Patricia nodded slowly. Very good, Maya. You're smarter than your mother. She never understood the bigger picture. Never saw all the moving pieces. How many people, Thomas demanded, how many people are involved in covering up my father's murder? Enough. Politicians, business leaders, police officers, judges, all with their own reasons to keep the past buried. Patricia sat back down, suddenly looking tired. Old. I didn't want this, Thomas. I didn't want to build a house of cards that could collapse at any moment. But I did what I had to do, and now we're all living in that house. All of us are implicated, whether we knew it or not. I'm not implicated in anything, Christopher said. I was 5 years old when grandfather died. I had nothing to do with your choices. But you've benefited from them. The wealth, the opportunities, the life you've lived. All of it built on the foundation I created. You can't separate yourself from this family, Christopher. None of us can. Maya felt like she was drowning in information. Every answer created 10 new questions. Every revelation made the situation more complicated, more dangerous, more impossible to fix. We need to tell Mama, Maya said. When she wakes up, we need to tell her everything. She deserves to know what she's up against. If she wakes up, Patricia said quietly, don't. Thomas's voice was dangerous. Don't you dare suggest she might not make it. This is your fault. All of it. And if Angela dies because of the stress you put her through, I will destroy you. I don't care about the business or the stock price or any of it. I will burn this family to the ground with you in it. Patricia met her son's eyes. You won't, because you're not me. You're too good, too soft. You actually care about people beyond how useful they are. That's why you could never do what I've done. Why you could never make the choices I've made. Good, Thomas said. I don't want to be like you. I'd rather be poor and decent than rich and monstrous. Before Patricia could respond, Thomas's phone rang. He pulled it out, and his face went white as he looked at the screen. It's the hospital. The room fell silent. Maya's heart stopped beating. This was it. The call that changed everything. The call that told them whether Mama lived or died, whether they got answers or lost them forever. Thomas answered, his hands shaking. This is Thomas Whitmore. Yes. Yes, she's my wife. What? When? Is she? His face crumpled. Thank you. Yes, we'll be there right away. He hung up and looked at Maya. Tears streamed down his face. And for a terrible moment, Maya thought the worst. Thought Mama was gone. Thought she'd lost her before they could fix anything. She's awake, Thomas said, his voice breaking. Angela's awake, and she's asking for you, Maya. She says she needs to tell you something. Something urgent. Something that can't wait. Relief flooded through Maya so intensely she nearly fell over. Mama was awake, alive, still fighting, still here. We need to go, Maya said. Now. I'll drive, Christopher said, already moving toward the door. Patricia stood. I'm coming too. No, Thomas said flatly. You've done enough. You stay here. We'll deal with you later. Thomas, if Angela tells the police what she knows, then you should have thought of that before you killed my father. Thomas took Maya's hand. Come on, let's go see your mother. They left Patricia standing alone in the dining room, surrounded by the wealth and power she'd murdered to protect. Maya glanced back once and saw her grandmother standing perfectly still, perfectly composed, perfectly alone. Good, Maya thought. Let her be alone. That's what she deserves. The drive to the hospital was fast and silent. Christopher broke every speed limit, but no one complained. Maya's mind raced with questions. What did Mama need to tell her? What was so urgent it couldn't wait? Was it about Patricia's confession? About the murder? About the powerful people who wanted to keep the truth buried? Or was it something else? Something even worse? They parked in the emergency lot and ran inside. The night nurse recognized them and waved them through. She's stable but weak. The doctor says 5 minutes, no more. She needs rest. Mama's room looked the same as before. Same machines, same beeping monitors, same glass walls. But Mama herself looked different. More alert, more present. Like she'd decided death could wait a little longer. Baby girl, Mama said when Maya burst through the door. Her voice was still rough but stronger than before. Thomas, thank God. There's something I need to tell you, both of you, before it's too late. Thomas sat on one side of the bed, Maya on the other. Christopher stayed outside with the nurse, giving them privacy. What is it, Mama? What's wrong? Mama took a shaky breath. Patricia came to see me. While you were gone, she told me things, threatened me. But she also let something slip, something she didn't mean to say. We know about the murder, Thomas said gently. Mother confessed everything. About killing my father, about threatening you, about the powerful people helping her cover it up. Mama's eyes widened. She told you? She actually told you the truth? She didn't have much choice. We cornered her, made her explain. Thomas squeezed Mama's hand. But Angela, we need to know everything you saw that night, every detail. If we're going to stop her, if we're going to protect you, we need the whole story. That's not what I need to tell you, Mama said. Yes, I saw Patricia kill Edward. Yes, she threatened me to keep quiet. But there's more. Something I found out that night. Something that changes everything. What? Maya leaned forward. Mama, what did you find? Mama looked at Thomas with an expression Maya couldn't read. Sadness? Pity? Fear? Thomas, the night your father died, I was going through his personal effects, gathering his things for Patricia, and I found documents, hidden in a false bottom of his briefcase, legal papers, DNA tests, medical records. Thomas's face tightened. What kind of medical records? Yours, from when you were born. Thomas, your father wasn't your biological father. The DNA test proved it. Edward Whitmore wasn't your real dad. The words hit like a bomb. Maya watched her father's face cycle through shock, denial, confusion, and finally something that looked like his whole world tilting sideways. That's not possible, Thomas whispered. I look like him. Everyone always said I look like him. You look like your mother, Patricia, and your biological father, whoever he is, must have similar features. But Edward wasn't your father, Thomas, which means Christopher isn't your son. Not really. Not by blood. Christopher, who'd been listening from the doorway, despite the privacy, went pale. What are you saying? That I'm not a Whitmore? You're Edward's biological grandson, Mama said. Your mother was Edward's daughter. That part is real. But Thomas isn't Edward's son, which means you and Thomas share no blood relation. Who's my real father? Thomas asked, his voice hollow. I don't know. The documents didn't say. Just that Edward wasn't. And that Patricia knew. Had known since before you were born. Mama's grip on Thomas's hand tightened. That's why she was so controlling, Thomas. She trapped herself in a lie. Married Edward, got pregnant by someone else, passed you off as his son. When Edward found out the truth, he must have confronted her, threatened to expose her, to divorce her, to cut her off without a penny. So she killed him, Thomas finished, to protect her secret, to keep her position, to make sure no one ever found out I wasn't really a Whitmore. And when I found those documents, when I confronted her about them, she threatened me, said if I told anyone about the DNA test or the murder, she'd make sure you paid the price. She'd tell the world you were illegitimate, destroy your inheritance, ruin your life. Mama's eyes filled with tears. I couldn't let that happen, Thomas. I couldn't let my truth hurt you. So I left. I took our baby and I ran. And I've kept your secret for 16 years. Maya felt like her brain was melting. Her father wasn't really a Whitmore. Her brother wasn't really her brother. Everything about this family was built on lies, stacked on top of lies, stacked on top of murder. Where are the documents now? Thomas asked. The DNA tests, the medical records. Where are they? I hid them, Mama said, before I left. I knew I might need leverage someday, need proof. So I made copies and hid them somewhere Patricia would never think to look. Where? Mama smiled slightly. In the mansion, in the one place Patricia never goes, never even thinks about. Where, Angela? Tell me where. The servants' quarters. The old wing where the live-in staff used to stay before Patricia fired them all and hired commuters instead. There's a loose floorboard in the room I used to sleep in. Room 7B. Under that board is a metal box. Inside that box are copies of everything. DNA tests, Edward's will, medical records proving you're not his biological son, and a letter. A letter Edward wrote to you before he died, telling you the truth, telling you he loved you anyway, telling you that blood doesn't make a family. Thomas was crying now, silent tears streaming down his face. He knew? My father knew I wasn't his son, and he still loved me? He loved you more than anything, Mama said. That's why Patricia had to kill him, because he was going to tell you the truth, going to acknowledge you as his son regardless of biology. Going to cut Patricia out of the will for lying to him for 30 years. She couldn't let that happen, so she poisoned him before he could sign the new will, before he could tell you, before he could expose her. Maya's head was spinning. We need to get those documents, need to secure them before Patricia finds out they exist. She already knows, Mama said. That's what she came to tell me. She said she's known about the hidden documents for years. Said she searched for them but could never find them. But now, with me back, with you asking questions, she's desperate. She said if I don't tell her where they are, if I don't destroy them, she'll make sure you all pay the price. What price? Christopher asked from the doorway. What's she threatening now? Mama looked at Maya with fear in her eyes. You, baby girl. She's threatening you. She said if I don't cooperate, if I don't keep quiet and disappear again, she'll make sure you have an accident. Something quick, something that looks natural, something that removes the problem before it gets worse. Cold horror washed over Maya. Patricia was threatening to kill her. Actually, seriously threatening to murder a 16-year-old girl to keep her secret safe. She can't do that, Maya said, but her voice shook. She can't just kill people. We'll go to the police. We'll tell them everything. And say what? Mama asked. That a respected billionaire philanthropist is threatening a teenage girl? With what proof? Her word against yours? She's made sure there's no evidence, Maya. No recordings. No witnesses. Just private conversations that can be denied. That's how she survived this long. By being careful, by covering her tracks, by making sure she can't be touched. Thomas stood abruptly. Then we get those documents, tonight, right now. We get them and we expose her before she can hurt anyone else. Thomas, she'll know, Mama warned. The moment you go to that room, the moment you start searching, she'll know. She has cameras everywhere, security monitoring every room. You won't be able to get the documents without her finding out. I don't care, Thomas said fiercely. Let her know. Let her see me taking back what she stole. I'm done hiding, done playing her games, done letting her control my life. Dad, wait. Christopher put a hand on his father's arm. Think about this. If we go charging in there, grandmother will destroy the evidence before we can secure it. We need to be smart about this. Need a plan. What kind of plan, Maya asked. Christopher thought for a moment. Grandmother thinks she's in control, thinks we're all too scared or too weak to act. What if we use that against her? What if we make her think we're going along with her demands while we actually work behind her back? A trap, Thomas said slowly. You want to trap her. I want to make her show her hand. Make her reveal herself in a way that can't be denied or covered up. We need evidence. Real evidence. Not just our word against hers. Christopher pulled out his phone. I have a friend, a tech guy who specializes in security systems. Completely trustworthy. What if we bring him in to help us document everything? Video, audio, the works? Make sure when grandmother makes her move, we have proof that can't be disputed. That's risky, Mama said. If she finds out, she won't. Not if we're careful. Christopher's eyes were bright with determination. I'm sick of being afraid of her. Sick of watching her destroy people and get away with it. It's time someone stopped her. Why not us? Maya looked at her father, her brother, her mother lying in that hospital bed. This strange family she'd only just discovered. This complicated, messy, dangerous family that was hers. I'm in, Maya said. Whatever the plan is, count me in. Patricia threatened to kill me. That's not something I'm going to ignore. Me too, Thomas said. This ends now, tonight, one way or another. Mama looked at all of them with pride and fear mixed together. Then you need to move fast. Patricia's paranoid. She'll be watching the servants' quarters, waiting to see if anyone goes looking. You'll only get one chance to retrieve those documents before she destroys them. Then we'd better make it count, Christopher said. He started typing on his phone. I'm calling my tech friend, getting him to the mansion within the hour. Dad, you need to go back and act normal. Pretend we didn't have this conversation. Keep grandmother distracted. What about Maya? Thomas asked. She can't go back there. Not if Mother's threatening her. Maya stays here, Mama said firmly. With me, where she's safe. You two go. Do what you need to do. But you leave my baby out of the dangerous part. No way, Maya protested. I'm not hiding while you all take risks. This is my family too. My fight too. Maya, no, Mama. You spent 16 years protecting me. Now it's my turn to help protect you. All of you. Maya stood up. I'm going back to that mansion. I'm going to help get those documents. And I'm going to make sure Patricia Whitmore pays for everything she's done. Mama looked like she wanted to argue but didn't have the strength. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't take unnecessary risks. I promise. It was a lie and they both knew it. But some lies are necessary. Some lies are kind. They left Mama resting in her hospital bed, a nurse stationed outside her door for protection. Christopher's tech friend, a nervous guy named Kevin who wore thick glasses and carried a backpack full of equipment, met them in the hospital parking lot. You're sure about this? Kevin asked as they drove toward the mansion. Breaking into a billionaire's home to retrieve hidden evidence while avoiding security systems? This is like something out of a movie. Welcome to my life, Christopher said dryly. Can you handle the cameras or not? I can loop the footage. Make it show empty rooms while you search. But I need physical access to the security hub. Where is it? Basement, near the wine cellar. Christopher's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Getting you in there without grandmother noticing will be the hard part. I'll distract her, Thomas said. I'll tell her I need to discuss the company. Numbers, projections. Boring business talk she can't resist being part of. While she's focused on me, you two get Kevin to the security hub. And Maya? Christopher asked. I'm going to the servants' quarters, Maya said. Finding that room, that box. Getting those documents before Patricia even knows we're looking. That's too dangerous, Thomas said immediately. What if Mother finds you? Then I'll deal with it. I'm not some helpless kid, Thomas. I've been taking care of myself and Mama for 16 years. I can handle Patricia. Maya's voice was hard. Besides, she won't hurt me. Not yet. Not until she knows where the documents are. I'm more valuable alive than dead until she gets what she wants. The logic was cold, but sound. Thomas looked like he wanted to argue, but couldn't find a flaw in her reasoning. They pulled up to the mansion just after midnight. The gates swung open automatically. The house blazed with light, every window glowing like eyes watching their approach. Patricia stood waiting on the front steps, backlit by the entrance lights. She looked like a queen surveying her kingdom, like a spider waiting at the center of her web. You're back, she said as they got out of the car. I wasn't sure you would be. We live here, Mother, Thomas said coldly. Where else would we go? The hospital, the police station, a lawyer's office, any number of places that would make my life more difficult. Patricia's eyes swept over them, calculating. But you came home instead. Why? Because we need to talk, Thomas said. About the company, about succession planning, about what happens next. Are you available or is this a bad time? Patricia looked surprised but pleased. Of course, my study. Now, we have much to discuss. As Thomas and Patricia walked inside, Christopher leaned close to Maya. You have 30 minutes. After that, Dad won't be able to keep her distracted. Can you find the documents in 30 minutes? I'll find them in 20, Maya promised. Kevin, the tech guy, was already moving toward the basement entrance, his backpack full of equipment. Christopher followed to help and to stand guard. Maya was alone. She slipped through the house like a ghost, avoiding the main hallways, sticking to the servants' passages that ran like veins through the mansion's walls. The old servants' quarters were in the east wing, a section of the house that Patricia had closed off years ago. The hallway was dark and dusty. No one had been here in ages. Maya counted doors until she found room 7B. The door stuck when she pushed it, swollen with disuse. Inside, the room was small and bare. A single bed with a thin mattress, a dresser with drawers that hung open, a window that looked out on the gardens. This was where Mama had lived when she worked here, where she'd fallen in love with Thomas, where she'd hidden the evidence that would destroy Patricia. Maya dropped to her knees and started checking floorboards. Most were solid, nailed down tight, but near the window, one board shifted when she pressed on it. She pried it up with her fingernails, ignoring the splinters. There, underneath, a small metal box, wrapped in plastic to protect it from moisture. Maya pulled it out with shaking hands. Inside were papers, yellowed with age but still readable. DNA test results showing Thomas Whitmore was not Edward Whitmore's biological son. Edward's will, signed but never filed, leaving everything to Thomas and cutting Patricia out entirely. Medical records, birth certificates, and at the bottom a letter in shaky handwriting. My dearest Thomas, it began, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But before I go, you need to know the truth about your mother and about me and about who you really are. Maya didn't have time to read the whole thing. She shoved everything back in the box and tucked it under her arm. She had the evidence. Now she just needed to get out without Patricia knowing. But as she turned toward the door, a voice spoke from the darkness of the hallway. Looking for something? Patricia stepped into the room, and in her hand was a gun. Maya's heart stopped. The gun was small, silver, probably expensive, and pointed directly at Maya's chest. I've been watching the security feeds, Patricia said calmly. I saw you come in here. Knew exactly what you were looking for. Did you really think I'd make it that easy? The security feeds are looped, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. Christopher's tech friend took care of that. I have backup systems, private ones that bypass the main network. I've been paranoid for 24 years, Maya. You think I'd rely on a single point of failure? Patricia stepped closer. Now give me the box. No, I'm not asking, child. I'm telling you, give me the box or I will shoot you. And unlike in the movies, I won't aim for a shoulder or a leg. I'll aim for center mass. You'll be dead before you hit the ground. Maya believed her. This woman had killed her own husband, had threatened Mama, had spent decades covering up murder and lies. She absolutely would shoot a 16-year-old girl who stood between her and survival. But Maya didn't give her the box. You can't shoot me, Maya said, her mind racing. The sound would alert everyone. Thomas, Christopher, the staff. You'd never explain it away. The East Wing is soundproofed. No one will hear a thing. Patricia cocked the gun. Last chance, Maya. The box. Maya's grip tightened on the metal container. Inside was the truth. The proof. Everything needed to destroy Patricia and free her family from decades of lies. She couldn't give it up. Wouldn't give it up. If you shoot me, Maya said slowly, you'll never know where Mama hid the copies. Because yes, there are copies. Multiple sets, hidden in different locations. Shoot me and you'll spend the rest of your life waiting for them to surface, wondering when the truth will come out, living in fear. It was a bluff, a complete lie, but it was all Maya had. Patricia's hand wavered. You're lying. Am I? Mama's smart. You said so yourself. You really think she'd hide all the evidence in one place? You really think she wouldn't have a backup plan? Maya took a step toward the door. Let me go. Let me take these documents. And maybe I'll tell you where the other copies are. Or maybe I shoot you, destroy those documents, and take my chances that you're bluffing. Then shoot. Maya raised her chin. But know that if you do, Thomas will never forgive you. Christopher will never forgive you. You'll lose them both. And all your wealth, all your power, all your careful planning will mean nothing because you'll die alone. Unloved, unmourned, just a bitter old woman who sacrificed her family for money. The words hit their mark. Maya saw it in Patricia's eyes. The fear of being alone, of losing her son, of everything she'd done being for nothing. The gun lowered slightly. You're cleverer than your mother, Patricia said quietly. She led with her heart. You led with your head. That makes you dangerous. I learned from the best, Maya said. Mama taught me how to survive. You're going to regret that she's such a good teacher. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Grandmother and granddaughter. Murderer and witness. Past and future. Then Patricia did something unexpected. She lowered the gun completely. Fine. Take the documents. Take them to Thomas. Expose me if you want. I'm 72 years old. I'm tired. I've been running for 24 years. Maybe it's time to stop. Maya didn't trust it. Didn't believe for a second that Patricia was giving up. But she also wasn't going to waste the opportunity. She edged toward the door, keeping Patricia in sight, the box clutched tight. This isn't over, Maya said. No, Patricia agreed. It's not, but maybe it should be. Maybe I've held on too long, made too many choices that can't be undone. Maybe it's time to let go. She sounded sad, almost human. But Maya didn't let her guard down. Couldn't afford to. She backed into the hallway, then turned and ran. Ran through the servants' passages, down the stairs, through the basement where Kevin was frantically typing on a laptop, looping security feeds, past Christopher, who looked up in surprise. I got them, Maya shouted. I got the documents. Then we need to go, Christopher said. Now, before grandmother realizes what we've done. They ran through the mansion, Kevin grabbing his equipment, all of them heading for the front entrance. Thomas emerged from Patricia's study, took one look at their faces, and didn't ask questions. Just followed. They piled into Christopher's car. Maya clutched the metal box like it was made of gold, like it was the most valuable thing in the world. Because it was the truth. Finally, after 24 years of lies. Christopher peeled out of the driveway so fast the tires squealed. Maya looked back at the mansion and saw Patricia standing in one of the upper windows, watching them leave. She made no move to stop them, made no calls, just watched. And somehow that was more terrifying than if she'd chased them with the gun. Did you really find everything? Thomas asked, turning in his seat to look at Maya. Everything Mama said would be there. DNA tests, Edward's will, medical records, a letter. Maya handed him the box. Your father knew, Thomas. He knew you weren't his biological son, and he loved you anyway. It's all in the letter. Thomas opened the box with shaking hands, pulled out the yellowed papers, the DNA results that proved Maya's words, the will that would have secured his inheritance, and the letter. He read in silence while Christopher drove toward the hospital, while Kevin the tech guy sat quietly in the front seat, probably wondering what he'd gotten himself into. While Maya watched the city lights blur past, wondering if they'd really escaped or if Patricia was already planning her next move. He called me his son, Thomas said finally, his voice thick with tears. Even knowing the truth, he called me his son, said blood doesn't make a family, love does, and he loved me. Enough to change his will, enough to risk Patricia's wrath, enough to die trying to protect me from the truth. He sounds like he was a good man, Maya said softly. He was, the best, and my mother killed him for it. Thomas wiped his eyes. We're going to make this right. We're going to expose her, get justice for my father, for Angela, for everyone she's hurt. How? Christopher asked. The documents prove Thomas isn't a biological Whitmore, but they don't prove grandmother murdered anyone. It's still just mom's word against hers. Then we get mama's word on record. Officially, legally. Thomas pulled out his phone. I'm calling our lawyer, the real one. We're going to file a police report, open a formal investigation, bring in forensics experts. If there's any evidence left after 24 years, we'll find it. And if there's not, Maya asked, then we still have these documents. Still have the truth about who I really am. Still have leverage. Thomas looked at the papers in his hands. Patricia built her empire on lies, on my supposed legitimacy as a Whitmore heir. If the world finds out I'm not Edward's biological son, her carefully constructed legacy crumbles. The board will revolt. The shareholders will panic. The business will suffer. She loses everything even if she doesn't go to prison. That's mutually assured destruction, Christopher pointed out. If we expose her, we lose too. The company tanks. Our reputation is destroyed. We all suffer. Good, Thomas said firmly. Let it all burn. I'd rather be honest and poor than rich and living a lie. They arrived at the hospital to find Mama sitting up in bed, looking more alert than she had all day. The nurse had been updating her on their progress through text from Christopher. You got them, Mama said when they walked in with the box. It wasn't a question. We got them, Maya confirmed. Everything you said would be there. Patricia tried to stop me, but I convinced her to let me go. How? Mama asked sharply. I told her you had copies hidden elsewhere, that shooting me wouldn't solve her problems. Smart girl. Mama held out her hand for the box. But Maya, that was a lie. These are the only copies. I didn't have time or resources to make more. If Patricia realizes you were bluffing, she'll come for us. All of us. Then we move fast, Thomas said. We get your statement on record. We file charges. We make so much noise that Patricia can't silence us without making things worse for herself. It's risky, Mama warned. Everything about this situation is risky. Thomas sat on the edge of her bed. Angela, I've spent 24 years believing lies, living a life built on murder and deception. I'm done. Whatever happens next, we face it together, as a family, as we should have faced everything from the beginning. Mama's eyes filled with tears. I missed you so much. Every day, every minute. I wanted to come back 1,000 times. But I was scared. Scared of what Patricia would do. Scared of putting you in danger. You were protecting me. I understand that now. But Angela, I don't need protection. I need you. I need our daughter. I need my real family, not the one my mother invented. They held each other while Maya looked away to give them privacy. Christopher stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder, solid and real, and here. We're going to be okay, Christopher said quietly. I don't know how, but we will be. You sound pretty sure for someone whose whole family just imploded. That's the thing. It didn't implode. It finally became real, honest. I'd rather have a complicated, messy truth than a perfect, comfortable lie any day. Maya leaned against her brother and let herself feel the weight of everything that had happened. The fear, the danger, the revelations. But also the hope, the possibility, the chance for something better. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her look. Maya, this is Patricia. You were right. I am tired. I've been fighting for so long, I forgot what I was fighting for. Your mother hid the documents well. She always was smarter than I gave her credit for. I'm going to tell you something because you deserve to know. Something even Thomas doesn't know. Something that changes everything. Thomas's biological father wasn't some random affair. He was my first love. A man I loved more than life itself. A man who died before Thomas was born. I married Edward for security, but I loved someone else. And when Thomas was born looking just like him, I couldn't let anyone know the truth. Couldn't let anyone take away the last piece of the man I loved. So I lied. I schemed. I killed. All to protect a memory. All to keep my son. Even if he wasn't really mine by law, he was mine by love. That's why I did everything. Not for money or power. For love. Twisted, terrible love. But love nonetheless. I'm sorry. For everything. I'm going to fix this the only way I know how. By the time you read this, it will be over. Take care of my son. He deserves better than I gave him. Patricia. Maya's hands shook as she showed the text to the others. Thomas read it, his face going pale. What does she mean, fix this? What's